Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Wyatt Calloway stood at the kitchen counter, arranging fresh-cut flowers in a crystal vase. Each stem placed with the same careful precision he applied to business deals that had turned him from a nobody into one of the city's wealthiest men. Easter weekend was approaching, and he wanted everything perfect for the family gathering they hosted every year. At T42, Wyatt carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly who he was. His dark hair had begun graying at the temples, but only added to his composed appearance. 15 years of marriage to Callie had taught him patience. Not that it came naturally to a man who'd clawed his way up from dirt-poor beginnings in rural Texas. The front door opened and closed. Callie's perfume, something expensive he'd bought her last Christmas, announced her arrival before she stepped into the kitchen. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, her makeup flawless despite the afternoon shopping trip. "You're home early," she said, setting her bags on the counter. Her voice held none of the warmth it once had. "Wanted to get things ready for Sunday," Wyatt replied, glancing up. "Your parents confirmed they're coming. I ordered those pastries your mother likes." Callie didn't respond. She poured herself a glass of wine, took a long sip, then set it down with purpose. "About Easter," she said. "Change of plans." Wyatt looked up from the flowers. "What do you mean? You're not welcome this Easter." The words hung between them. Wyatt's hands stilled on the flowers, a thorny stem pricking his thumb. A drop of blood welled up, but he barely noticed. "Excuse me." Callie's lips curved into what might have been a smile on anyone else. On her, it looked like the expression of someone who'd been waiting to deliver bad news. "I'll move on, Wyatt. I deserve more." She took another sip of wine, watching him over the rim of the glass. "I want you out of the house by tonight." Wyatt set down the flower he was holding. "What the hell are you talking about?" The sound of footsteps in the hallway drew his attention. A man appeared in the doorway, tall with the overly defined muscles of someone who spent too much time at the gym. His teeth were unnaturally white when he smiled. "Hey," the stranger said with a casual wave, as if he belonged there. "Who the hell is this?" Wyatt asked, his voice deadly quiet. "Dylan Reeves," Callie said, moving to stand beside the man. "My boyfriend." The word hit Wyatt like a physical punch, but he didn't flinch. Years of negotiating deals had taught him never to show weakness. "Your boyfriend," he repeated flatly. "We've been seeing each other for months," Callie said, reaching for Dylan's hand. "I was going to tell you after the holidays, but I couldn't wait any longer. I'm tired of pretending." Dylan shifted uncomfortably under Wyatt's stare, but tried to maintain his confident pose. "No hard feelings, man. These things happen." Wyatt's laugh was cold and short. "These things happen." He looked at Callie. "You bring your lover into my house and tell me to leave, and that's all you have to say?" "Our house," Callie corrected. "And yes, I want you gone tonight." "Dylan's moving in. Is that right?" Wyatt asked. He studied her face to face he'd woken up to for 15 years. The woman who'd once told him she loved his drive, his ambition. Now she looked at him like he was nothing more than an inconvenience to be removed. "How long?" he asked. "Does it matter?" Callie replied. "Humor me." She sighed dramatically. 8 months. "But it's been over between us for years, Wyatt. You were just too busy with work to notice." Dylan wrapped his arm around Callie's waist. Callie deserves someone who puts her first. Wyatt's gaze flicked to the man, then back to his wife. "I see. And the Easter party? We're still having it," Callie said. "My family's coming. Our friends. It's all arranged. You just won't be here." The pieces fell into place in Wyatt's mind. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was calculated. She wanted him gone before the holiday, wanted to show off her new relationship, wanted their social circle to see her happy without him, and she expected to do it all with his money. Wyatt didn't argue. He didn't shout or throw things or make a scene. That wasn't his style. Instead, he nodded slowly, as if considering her request. "Fine," he said finally, "but don't expect my $9,800. Callie frowned. "What are you talking about?" Wyatt pulled out his phone. "You know, the $9,800 a month I pay for this place. Mortgage, utilities, maintenance." He tapped at his screen, pulling up apps for each service, Callie laughed. You can't just stop paying bills because I hurt your feelings, Wyatt. That's not how divorce works. My lawyer will make sure I get what I'm entitled to. Your lawyer, Wyatt repeated. Already got one lined up? I've been planning this for a while, she admitted, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Dylan shifted uncomfortably. Maybe I should wait outside. No, stay, Wyatt said, his fingers moving across his phone screen. You'll want to hear this. Callie rolled her eyes. Hear what, Wyatt? Your pathetic threats. Not threats, just facts. He looked up from his phone. Fact 1. This house isn't in our name. It's owned by Callaway Enterprises, LLC. My company. Callie's smirk faltered slightly. So what? I'm your wife. I get half of everything. Fact 2. Wyatt continued as if she hadn't spoken. The utilities are in my name, and I just cancel them all. He held up his phone to show her the confirmation messages. Power, water, internet. All gone. You're bluffing, Callie said, but doubt had crept into her voice. Wait for it, Wyatt said, glancing at his watch. As if on cue, the lights went out. The refrigerator stopped humming. The house fell into sudden, total silence. What the hell? Dylan said, looking around. Texas Energy doesn't mess around when you tell them to cut service, Wyatt said calmly. They're very efficient. Callie's face had gone pale in the fading daylight coming through the windows. Turn it back on. No, Wyatt said simply. I don't think I will. You can't just. I can. I did. He pocketed his phone. You want me out? I'm out. But so is my money. Dylan took a step forward. Listen, man. No, you listen. Wyatt cut him off, his voice never rising but carrying an edge that made the other man stop short. You want to take my wife? Take her. But you're getting her, not her lifestyle. That's mine. He turned back to Callie, whose expression had morphed from shock to fury. What about the Easter party? She demanded. Everyone's coming. I've spent thousands on food decorations. Your problem, Wyatt said. Not mine. Callie grabbed his arm. You can't do this. Turn everything back on right now. Or what? Wyatt asked mildly, removing her hand. You've already played your only card, Callie. You can't threaten me with anything else. He walked past them toward the stairs. I'll pack a bag and be gone in 20 minutes. Enjoy your dark, cold house. Wyatt, Callie screamed after him. Don't you dare walk away from me. But he was already climbing the stairs, mentally calculating which items he truly needed and which could be replaced. He'd built himself from nothing once before. He could do it again. But Callie? Callie had never built anything in her life. In their bedroom. He pulled a suitcase from the closet and began methodically filling it with clothes, toiletries, and important documents he kept in a lockbox. He heard Callie and Dylan arguing downstairs, their voices rising through the quiet house. What do you mean you can't fix it? Callie demanded. I'm not an electrician. Dylan shot back. And even if I was, he shut it off at the source. Call someone. Who? It's after hours. And without internet, I can't even look up a number. Wyatt allowed himself a small smile as he closed his suitcase. He added his laptop, chargers, and a few personal items to his second bag. Everything else could stay. It was just stuff. He'd always understood that, even if Callie never had. When he came back downstairs, Callie was frantically trying to reach someone on her phone, her face illuminated by its screen in the darkening house. No one's answering, she snapped when she saw him. Fix this, Wyatt. Right now. Not my problem, he said, walking past her to the door. The Easter party is tomorrow, she shouted. What am I supposed to do? Wyatt paused at the door and turned. Cancel it, or hold it in the dark. Your choice. You're ruining everything, she hissed. No, he corrected her. You did that when you decided to cheat on me with. He glanced at Dylan, who was helplessly looking at his own phone. Him. He opened the door to leave, then stopped one more time. Oh, and Callie? I hope it was worth it. Wyatt drove through the darkening city streets, his mind clear despite the upheaval of the past hour. Traffic lights blurred past as he worked through his next steps with the same methodical precision he applied to business problems that he pulled into the underground parking garage of a high-rise downtown. The security guard recognized him immediately. Evening, Mr. Callaway, the man said. Haven't seen you in a while. Wyatt nodded. I'll be staying here indefinitely, Paul. Could you have someone help with my bags? Right away, sir. The penthouse apartment was exactly as he'd left it, clean and minimally furnished. He'd bought it 3 years ago through one of his holding companies as an investment property, but had kept it empty. A contingency plan he'd never admitted to himself he might need. Now, standing in the empty living room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, he allowed the reality of his situation to truly sink in. 15 years of marriage ended in a 10-minute conversation. Callie had been cheating for months, planning, strategizing, and tonight was just the opening move in whatever game she was playing. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Jonah," he said when his friend answered. "I need to meet. Tomorrow morning. It's important. Everything okay?" Jonah asked, concern evident in his voice. "No," Wyatt said honestly, "but it will be." After arranging to meet Jonah at 9 the next morning, Wyatt made another call. "Delaney," he said when his sister answered. "Got time for your big brother?" "Always," she replied. "What's up?" "Callie's cheating," he said simply. "She kicked me out." There was a pause, then, "I'm coming over." "Where are you?" "The downtown property." "I'll be there in 30, she said, and hung up. While waiting for his sister, Wyatt made one final call to his security team. He instructed them to station a man outside the house, not to interfere, just to observe and report back. At precisely 7:30 the next morning, Wyatt's phone rang. It was James, the security specialist he'd posted outside the house. "They're fighting in the driveway, sir," James reported. "Been going at it for about 20 minutes now. The guy's trying to leave." "And the house?" Wyatt asked, still dark. "Looks like nobody's shown up for any party." "Keep watching," Wyatt instructed. "Let me know if anything changes." He hung up and looked out at the city below, bathed in morning light. Somewhere across town, Callie was realizing that her grand plans were falling apart. The Easter gathering she'd planned, her triumphant debut as a newly single woman, was ruined. No power meant no heating on a chilly spring morning, no lights, no music, no way to cook the expensive food she'd bought. Wyatt felt a cold satisfaction at the thought, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. Callie had tried to humiliate him, to take everything he'd built. She'd underestimated him badly. Now she would learn exactly what that meant. The meeting room in Jonah Kerr's security firm was sparse and functional, with no decorations beyond a framed flag from his military service. Jonah himself matched the room, efficient, no nonsense, with the watchful eyes of someone who had seen combat and never fully left it behind. Delaney arrived just as they were sitting down, bringing coffee for all three of them. At 35, she was 7 years younger than Wyatt, with the same dark hair and determined set to her jaw. Where Wyatt was calculated precision, Delaney was focused intensity. She'd never hidden her dislike for Callie. "So she just ambushed you?" Jonah asked after Wyatt had explained the situation. "Brought the guy into your house and told you to get out?" Wyatt nodded. "She's been planning this for months. Had a lawyer ready." "That bitch," Delaney muttered, her hands wrapped tightly around her coffee cup. "I always knew she was using you." "She miscalculated," Wyatt said. "She thought I'd just roll over, that she could take the house, my money, and I just—" "What?" "Disappear. What do you want to do about it?" Jonah asked, leaning forward in his chair. Wyatt looked at his oldest friend. They'd met in college, where Jonah had been on an ROTC scholarship. After his military service, Jonah had started a security firm that Wyatt had helped finance. Now he provided services to high-net-worth individuals dealing with everything from corporate espionage to personal threats. "I want to destroy her," Wyatt said simply. "Not physically. I want her to live with the consequences of what she's done." Jonah nodded slowly. "So we're talking full financial and social warfare." "Exactly." Delaney set down her cup with purpose. "Tell us what you need." "First, information," Wyatt said. "I need to know everything Callie's been doing. Bank accounts, credit cards, social media, email. I need to know who she's been talking to, what she's been planning." "That's my department," Jonas said. "I'll get my best people on it." Discreetly, "I want to know about this Dylan character too," Wyatt continued. "Everything from his credit score to his gym membership." "Consider it done," Jonah replied. "What else?" "I need to secure my assets," Wyatt said, turning to his sister. "Delaney, you're the legal expert. I need to make sure Callie can't touch anything that's mine." Delaney nodded. I'll call Phil at the firm. We'll get everything locked down tight. She paused, then added, what about the house? What about it? Are you going to try to get her out? Wyatt considered this. Not yet. Let her stay there in the dark for a while. Let her feel what it's like when the money stops flowing. She'll try to turn your friends against you, Delaney warned. She'll play the victim. Let her try, Wyatt said. We know the truth. So what's the end game here? Jonah asked, always the strategist. What's the objective? Wyatt looked between his sister and his best friend, the only two people he trusted completely. I want her to lose everything. The house, the status, the money. I want her to end up exactly where she would have been without me nowhere. Delaney's smile was sharp. About damn time, big brother. Jonah nodded. We're with you. All the way. For the next 2 hours, they outlined their strategy. Jonah would handle surveillance and information gathering. Delaney would manage the legal aspects. And Wyatt would coordinate it all, striking where and when it would hurt Callie most at AS they were wrapping up. Wyatt's phone buzzed with a text from James. Target and boyfriend having a second driveway argument. He's packing his car. Wyatt showed the message to the others. Already, Delaney asked with a laugh. One night, without power, and her boy toy is bailing. Guess he wasn't in it for the hardship, Jonah remarked dryly. This is just the beginning, Wyatt said, pocketing his phone. By the time we're done, Callie won't have anyone left. Monday morning dawned clear and bright as Wyatt settled into his office at Callaway Enterprises. The weekend's events had left him with a clarity of purpose he hadn't felt in years. His executive assistant, Miranda, noticed the change immediately. You seem different today, Mr. Callaway, she observed as she set his coffee on his desk. I'm different, he replied. I need you to clear my schedule for the morning and get Tom from legal up here. While waiting for the company's legal counsel, Wyatt pulled up his personal financial records. Every account, every credit card, every investment. Most were in his name alone, but some had Callie as an authorized user. That would end today. Tom arrived promptly, a folder tucked under his arm. Miranda said it was urgent. It is, Wyatt confirmed, gesturing for him to sit. My wife and I are separating. I need to protect the company's interests. To his credit, Tom didn't show surprise. I'm sorry to hear that. What do you need? A complete audit of company assets. Anything Callie might have access to. Credit cards, accounts, property. I want it all documented and secured. Tom nodded, making notes. We could do that. What about personal assets? My sister's firm is handling those. I want you focused on the business side and Mrs. Callaway's company position. Wyatt had almost forgotten. Callie held a nominal position on the board of Callaway Enterprises, a courtesy title with no actual responsibilities that he'd given her years ago to please her. Remove her, Wyatt said. Effective immediately. Tom looked up from his notes. That might be complicated. There's a process. Figure it out, Wyatt interrupted. Whatever it takes. After Tom left, Wyatt made a series of calls. First to his bank, then to his credit card companies, then to his investment managers. By noon, Callie's access to every financial resource connected to Wyatt had been terminated. His phone rang. It was Jonah. We've got something, his friend said without preamble. Callie's been making some interesting purchases. Tell me, designer clothes, jewelry, high-end electronics. Over $200,000 in the last 6 months alone. Wyatt frowned. That's more than usual, but not unexpected. Here's the interesting part, Jonah continued. She's been shipping half of it to a storage unit across town. Units in her name only. She's been stockpiling, Wyatt realized. Planning her exit. Exactly. And there's more. She applied for 3 credit cards in the last month, all using your income information, but in her name only. Can you give me the account numbers? Already sent them to your email, Jonah confirmed. Oh, and my guy found something else. Your boy Dylan isn't just a fitness influencer. He's tried to launch 3 failed businesses in the last 5 years. Each time with investment from women he was dating. Wyatt's jaw tightened. So he's a con man. Looks that way. Currently has about $800 to his name and a mountain of debt. Send me everything you've got on him. Wyatt instructed up by 3 o'clock. Wyatt had a complete picture of Callie's financial activities. She'd been systematically building her own nest egg, separate from their shared assets. while continuing to spend his money freely. It was clever, but not clever enough. His phone buzzed with a text from Delaney. It's done. All personal assets secured. When do we move on the cars? Wyatt smiled grimly and texted back, now. At precisely 1:15 p.m. the next day, Callie was having lunch with two friends at an upscale restaurant downtown when her phone rang. Wyatt knew this because James was observing from a nearby table. She just got a call, James reported. Looks upset. Left the table to talk. 10 minutes later, James called again. She's freaking out, boss. Repo guys just took her Bentley from the valet parking. Wyatt allowed himself a small smile. The car was registered to Callaway Enterprises, not to Callie personally. The repo was completely legal. Stay with her, he instructed. I want to know where she goes. The answer came 3 hours later. After trying and failing to get an Uber because her credit cards were declined, Callie had been forced to call a friend for a ride. They'd driven directly to the house still without power or water, where she was now frantically making calls. His phone rang again. It was a number he didn't recognize. He answered anyway. You bastard, Callie hissed without introduction. Hello, Callie, he replied calmly. You had my car repossessed? In front of my friends. Not your car, he corrected. Company car. Turn the utilities back on, she demanded. Right now? No, you can't do this to me. I'm not doing anything to you, Callie. I'm simply reclaiming what's mine. Her voice turned wheedling. Wyatt, be reasonable. We can work this out like adults. Like you worked it out when you brought your boyfriend to our house and told me to leave, he asked. That kind of reasonable. I was angry, she said. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. Where is Dylan, by the way? Wyatt asked, already knowing the answer. There was a telling pause. He had some business to take care of. Of course he did, Wyatt said. Did he leave before or after he realized you couldn't access any money? This isn't about Dylan, Callie snapped, her conciliatory tone vanishing. This is about you behaving like a child. No, Callie. This is about consequences. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. He hung up before she could respond and turned back to his computer. According to the bank notification that had just popped up, Callie had tried to withdraw cash from their joint account, the account he'd emptied yesterday. His phone buzzed with a text from Delaney. Just got a call from her. She's threatening legal action. Wyatt texted back. Let her try. The next morning, Wyatt met with Jonah in a coffee shop near his office. His friend slid a folder across the table. Everything we found on your wife's activities, Jonas said. Financial records, text messages, emails. It's not pretty. Wyatt opened the folder and began reading. What he found made his blood boil. Callie hadn't just been cheating with Dylan. She'd been systematically planning to clean Wyatt out, discussing strategies with Dylan via text about how to get the most from the divorce. There's more, Jonas said, pointing to a section of the report. She's been using your name to secure memberships at clubs, spa packages, even a lease on a vacation property in Aspen, all without your knowledge. Wyatt's jaw tightened. Can we prove it? Every bit of it, Jonah confirmed. She forged your signature on at least 3 documents that we found. What about Dylan? He's a piece of work, Jonas said, flipping to another section. He's done this before. Twice. Finds wealthy women, moves in with them, helps them divorce their husbands, then bleeds them dry before moving on. And Callie fell for it, Wyatt said, shaking his head. Hook, line, and sinker, Jonah agreed. Question is, what do you want to do with this information? Wyatt considered his options. I want everyone to know exactly who she is. No legal gray areas. Nothing she can sue over. Just the truth laid bare for all to see. That afternoon, Delaney joined them at Wyatt's penthouse. The 3 of them reviewed everything they discovered and formulated a plan. Her parents first, Wyatt decided. They need to know what their daughter has been up to. Callie's parents were old-money conservatives who valued reputation above all else. The kind of people who kept up appearances no matter what was happening behind closed doors. They'd never particularly warmed to Wyatt, the self-made man from nowhere, but they'd tolerated him because of his success. What's the best approach? Delaney asked. Phone call? Email? In person, Wyatt decided. They deserve that much. The next day, Wyatt drove to the exclusive suburb where Harold and Eleanor Davis had lived for 40 years. Their colonial-style mansion was a testament to generational wealth, with manicured grounds and a circular driveway where a gardener was carefully trimming hedges. Eleanor answered the door herself, surprise evident on her face. "Wyatt, we weren't expecting you. I need to speak with you and Harold," he said simply. "It's important." She hesitated, then nodded, stepping back to let him in. "He's in his study." Harold Davis looked up from his desk when Wyatt entered the wood-paneled room. At 70, he still had the bearing of the corporate executive he'd once been, with shrewd eyes that missed nothing. "Calloway," he said by way of greeting, "to what do we owe this visit?" "I have something you need to see," Wyatt replied, placing a folder on the desk. "About Callie." Harold frowned, but opened the folder. Eleanor moved to stand behind him, reading over his shoulder. Their expressions shifted from confusion to disbelief to horror as they went through the documentation. "This can't be right," Eleanor said, her hand going to her throat. "Callie wouldn't. It's all verified," Wyatt interrupted gently. "Bank records, text messages, emails. She's been planning this for months." Harold looked up, his face ashen. "Why bring this to us?" "Because you deserve to know the truth," Wyatt said. "And because she'll come to you for money soon. She's run out of other options." Harold nodded slowly, understanding. "You're cutting her off completely." "Yes." "Good," Harold said firmly, surprising both Wyatt and Eleanor. "She needs to learn there are consequences for this kind of behavior." Eleanor looked torn. "But Harold, she's our daughter, who apparently thinks it's acceptable to commit fraud and adultery," Harold cut in. "No, Eleanor. Wyatt's right. She made this mess. She can live with it." Before Wyatt left, Harold shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for coming to us directly. Most men wouldn't have bothered. You're still family," Wyatt said. "That means something to me." Next came Callie's friends. Wyatt didn't approach them directly. That would have seemed vindictive. Instead, he had Jonah anonymously send proof of Callie's activities to 3 of her closest friends, women who had businesses or reputations that could be damaged by association with fraud. Within days, according to James's surveillance, none of them were returning Callie's increasingly desperate calls. The country club where Callie spent most of her free time received documentation of her fraudulent use of Wyatt's name to charge expenses to the account. Her membership was suspended pending investigation. The final blow came a week after Easter. Wyatt had been methodically dismantling Callie's life piece by piece, but he'd saved the most devastating revelation for last. Using the information Jonah had gathered, he contacted 5 of Dylan's previous victims, wealthy women who had lost small fortunes to the con man schemes one by one. They agreed to share their stories. Not publicly, but in a private meeting with Callie. Wyatt arranged it through Harold, who insisted his daughter attend what she thought would be a family discussion about financial support. Instead, she walked into her parents' living room to find 5 women she'd never met, each with a story identical to her own. Young, wealthy, married, targeted by Dylan, manipulated into leaving their husbands, then slowly drained of money and discarded. Wyatt wasn't present for this meeting, but Harold called him afterward. She didn't believe them at first, he reported. Then they showed her the evidence. Pictures of him with them. Bank transfers. The same text messages he sent her, word for word, sent to other women years before. How did she take it? Wyatt asked. Badly, Harold said. She tried to call him afterward. His number's been disconnected. He's gone, Wyatt confirmed. Left town 3 days ago with a woman he met at his gym. She's a divorcee with a substantial settlement. His next target, Harold realized. Yes. There was a long pause before Harold spoke again. I never liked you much, Calloway. Thought you weren't good enough for my daughter. I was wrong. You're too good for her. 3 weeks after Easter, Wyatt sat in his office reviewing quarterly reports when Miranda buzzed him. There's a call for you on line 1, she said. It's Mrs. Calloway. Wyatt hesitated. He hadn't spoken directly to Callie since that brief phone call after the car repossession. Everything else had been handled through lawyers or intermediaries. Put her through, he decided. Wyatt. Callie's voice sounded different. Smaller somehow. The imperious tone was gone. What do you want, Callie? We need to talk, she said. In person. About what? Everything. She paused. Please, Wyatt. Just one conversation. He He considered refusing, but curiosity won out. When and where? Tomorrow, she said quickly, as if afraid he'd change his mind. Anywhere you want. Just name the time and place. Antonio's, he decided, naming an expensive restaurant downtown. 8 p.m. Thank you, she breathed. I'll be there. After hanging up, Wyatt called Jonah. What's Callie's current situation? Not good, his friend reported. She's broke. Credit cards maxed out or canceled. Bank accounts empty. Your sister's legal team has blocked every attempt she's made to access joint assets. The house is in foreclosure since the mortgage hasn't been paid in 3 months. And her boyfriend, long gone, Jonah confirmed. Left the state with his new target about 3 weeks ago. Hasn't contacted Callie since. What about her parents? They're giving her just enough to survive. Food, basic expenses. But they've made it clear they won't bail her out financially. Wyatt nodded, though Jonah couldn't see it. She called. Wants to meet tomorrow. Be careful, Jonah warned. She's desperate. I know. That's exactly where I want her. The next evening, Wyatt arrived at Antonio's 15 minutes early. He'd chosen a table with a view of the entrance, so he saw Callie the moment she walked in. She looked different. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple dress that had seen better days. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail rather than professionally styled. But the most striking change was in her expression. The confident, almost arrogant look she'd always worn was gone, replaced by something wary and uncertain. She spotted him and made her way to the table. Wyatt didn't stand as she approached, simply watching her with cool detachment. Wyatt, she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Thank you for meeting me. You said you wanted to talk, he replied. So talk. She flinched slightly at his tone, but pressed on. I made a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake. Which one? He asked. Cheating on me? Trying to steal my money? Forging my signature? Or falling for a con man who's done the same thing to at least 5 other women? She looked down at the table. All of it. I was confused. Unhappy. I thought I wanted something else. And now I know better. She reached across the table for his hand, but he moved it away. Wyatt, we had 15 years together. That has to count for something. It counted for exactly nothing when you brought your lover into my house and told me to leave, he pointed out. I was wrong, she admitted, tears forming in her eyes. So wrong. Dylan, he manipulated me, made me believe things that weren't true. Like what? That you didn't care about me. That you were just using me as an accessory for your success. She wiped at her eyes. He said all men like you did that. That I deserved better. And you believed him. Yes, she whispered. I was stupid. Wyatt studied her, seeing the calculation behind the tears. She was playing a role, the repentant wife, the victim of manipulation. Maybe there was some truth to it. Maybe Dylan had indeed played her. But that didn't excuse her own choices, her own actions. What do you want, Callie? He asked bluntly. Why are we really here? She straightened, apparently realizing her tears weren't having the desired effect. I want to come home, she said. I want us to try again. Wyatt almost laughed. Try again? After everything you've done? People make mistakes, she insisted. Even terrible ones. But they can be forgiven. We could go to counseling, work through this. There's nothing to work through, Wyatt said flatly. It's over. Wyatt, please, she said, leaning forward. I have nowhere to go. The bank is taking the house. My friends won't speak to me. My parents are barely helping. You're the only one who can fix this. And there was the real reason for this meeting. Not reconciliation, not remorse, but desperation. She needed his money. I can't fix what you broke, he told her. And I wouldn't if I could. What do you expect me to do? She demanded, the facade of contrition cracking. Live on the street, I expect you to do what everyone else does, Callie. Get a job. Pay your own way. She stared at him in disbelief. A job? I haven't worked in 15 years. Not my problem. It is your problem, she hissed, keeping her voice low but intense. I'm your wife. Ex-wife, he corrected. The divorce was finalized last week. Your lawyer should have told you. The color drained from her face. What? No, that's not possible. These things take months. Not when there's evidence of fraud and adultery, Wyatt said, and not when the other party doesn't contest anything. You're lying, she accused, Wyatt pulled a document from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. It's done, Callie. We're done. She stared at the divorce decree, her hands trembling as she picked it up. This can't be right. I get nothing? No alimony? No property? Nothing. Nothing, Wyatt confirmed. The judge was quite clear. Your attempt to defraud me, coupled with the adultery, voided any claim you might have had. Callie's face contorted with rage. You set me up. You orchestrated all of this. No, Callie. You did. Wyatt stood, dropping cash on the table for the drink he'd ordered while waiting. I just made sure you couldn't get away with it. As he turned to leave, she grabbed his wrist. Wyatt, wait. Please. I'm begging you. Don't leave me with nothing. He looked down at her, this woman he'd once loved, now reduced to begging in a restaurant. He felt no satisfaction in her distress, but no pity either. Only a cold finality. I told you that first night, he said quietly. No second chances. He gently removed her hand from his wrist and walked away, ignoring her whispered pleas. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. He took a deep breath, feeling as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. His phone buzzed with a text from Jonah. All good? Wyatt typed back. All good. It's over. As Wyatt left the restaurant, he nodded to the waiter he'd spoken with earlier. The man nodded back, understanding. The bill for Callie's untouched water would come to exactly what Wyatt had left on the table, not a penny more. She would have to pay for anything else she ordered. He slid into his car and sat for a moment, not yet starting the engine. Through the restaurant window, he could see Callie still at the table, her head in her hands. The waiter approached her, probably asking if she wanted to order food. She shook her head. Wyatt felt nothing watching her. No anger, no satisfaction, no pity. Just emptiness where 15 years of marriage had been. He started the car and drove away. The next morning, he was in his office early when Miranda buzzed him. There's a Ms. Peterson here to see you, she said. No appointment. Wyatt frowned. Who? She says she's your ex-wife's former friend. Margaret Peterson. Wyatt remembered the name. Margaret had been one of Callie's closest friends until she'd received documentation of Callie's fraudulent activities. Send her in, he decided. Margaret Peterson was a tall, elegant woman in her early 40s, the owner of a successful interior design firm that catered to wealthy clients. She'd done work for Wyatt and Callie years ago. Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Calloway, she said as she took a seat across from his desk. What can I do for you, Ms. Peterson? She placed her handbag carefully in her lap. I wanted to speak with you about Callie. Wyatt's expression didn't change. What about her? She came to my office yesterday, looking for work, Margaret said. She was not in good shape. I'm sorry to hear that, Wyatt said neutrally. But I don't see how that concerns me. Margaret met his gaze directly. I know what she did to you. We all do. The cheating, the plotting, the fraud. It was reprehensible. Yet you're here, Wyatt observed. Yes. She hesitated. I'm not asking you to forgive her or take her back. What I'm asking is, could you consider helping her get back on her feet? Something small. Enough for a decent apartment, maybe some job training. Wyatt leaned back in his chair. Why would I do that? Because you're not a cruel man, Margaret said simply. You never have been. What Callie did that was cruel. But you've always been fair. Fair, Wyatt repeated. Was it fair what she did to me? No, Margaret admitted. Not at all. And she's paying for it. Believe me, she's paying for it. How so? Margaret sighed. She's sleeping on her parents' couch. They won't give her money beyond basic necessities. She has no car, no credit, no prospects. She applied for a job at a department store yesterday and was rejected because of her credit score. That sounds like the consequences of her actions, Wyatt pointed out. It is, Margaret agreed, and perhaps she deserves all of it. She paused. I've known Callie for 20 years. She wasn't always like this. Something changed in her. And yes, she made terrible choices. But complete destruction seems excessive. Wyatt considered her words. Was he being excessive? Had his response to Callie's betrayal gone beyond justice into vengeance? He thought back to that night in his house, to the coldness in Callie's eyes as she told him to leave, to the months of deception revealed in those documents. And oh, this wasn't excessive. This was exactly what she'd brought on herself. I appreciate your concern, Ms. Peterson, he said finally. But Callie made her choices. Now she gets to live with them. Margaret nodded slowly, understanding she wouldn't change his mind. I had to try, she said, standing to leave. For the Callie I used to know. After she left, Wyatt sat staring out his office window at the city below. In those buildings, thousands of people were working, striving, building their lives. Callie would have to do the same now. Without his money, without his name to trade on, without the lifestyle he'd provided, the IT wasn't punishment. It was reality, the reality she'd chosen when she decided to betray him. 1 year after that fateful Easter weekend, Wyatt hosted a small gathering in his penthouse. Jonah was there with his wife, Delaney with her new boyfriend, and a few close friends who had stood by Wyatt through everything. Among them was Kate Shunn, a brilliant investment banker Wyatt had met 6 months earlier at a charity function. At 40, she had built her own successful career, owned her own home, and had the quiet confidence of someone who knew her own worth. Beautiful view, she said, joining him on the balcony with a glass of wine. Though I bet the sunrise is even better. It is, he confirmed, especially in the spring. She studied his face. Easter's tomorrow. Are you okay? He looked at her, appreciating her directness. He'd told her about Callie early in their relationship, not wanting secrets between them. I'm fine, he said honestly. Better than fine. And he was. The past year had brought changes he couldn't have predicted. His business had thrived. He'd reconnected with friends he'd neglected during his marriage. He'd started a mentoring program for underprivileged kids from backgrounds like his own. And he'd met Kate, who challenged and supported him in ways Callie never had. Heard anything about her? Kate asked carefully. Some Wyatt admitted. Jonah still kept tabs on Callie, not out of vindictiveness, but as a precaution. She's working as a sales clerk at a boutique in her parents' neighborhood, living in a small apartment they help her with. And how do you feel about that? Wyatt considered the question. I don't really. It's just information. Kate nodded, understanding. You've moved on. Yes, he agreed. I have. Inside, their friends were laughing at something Delaney had said. The sound drifted out to the balcony, warm and genuine. We should go back in, Wyatt said, taking Kate's hand. Delaney will think we're hiding from her. We are hiding from her, Kate pointed out with a smile. She's been trying to get me to join her book club for months. Wyatt laughed, the sound free and unforced. I'll protect you from her literary ambitions. As they moved to rejoin the gathering, Kate paused. You know what I admire about you, Wyatt? You survived something that would have broken many people. But you didn't just survive, you refused to let it change who you are. Wyatt thought about her words as they walked back inside. Had he changed? Yes and no. The betrayal had hardened something in him, had reinforced his belief that second chances were luxuries, not guarantees. But hadn't made him bitter or cynical. He still believed in loyalty, in honesty, in building rather than destroying. Later that night, after everyone had left, Wyatt stood on his balcony alone, looking at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Callie was living a life she had never imagined for herself, a life without wealth or status or the comforts she'd taken for granted. He felt no satisfaction in that knowledge, no lingering desire for revenge. What he felt was something simpler and cleaner, the knowledge that justice had been served. Not by him, but by the natural consequences of her own actions. His phone buzzed with a text from Kate. Made it home safely. Thanks for a wonderful evening. Wyatt smiled as he typed his reply. Breakfast tomorrow? I'll make excellent Easter pancakes. Her response came immediately. Looking forward to it. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and took one last look at the night sky before going inside. Easter had once been ruined for him, but now it would be just another day, a good day, filled with possibilities. And that, perhaps, was the most complete victory of all.